All right, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College. And what we did earlier this week, was we did our first MVC Model View Controller Entity Framework demo. We did a database first demo where we created a very simple task list or to-do list. And we created the database. We created, in other words, the schema. And then we basically built around it so we were able to go in and add all of our information. Well, I found this article online, a bit dated. It's about 3 years old. It's a series of 7 articles that are called Getting Started with Entity Framework 6, Database First Using MVC 5. I tried to follow the stuff in the first part of the document. They had you set up a new kind of project, an SQL Server Database project. All right, I called mine Rankin Technical College Data, and I went through, set it up to be done with Azure. All right, went through, created a student table, created a course table, created an enrollment table, ran this post-deployment script that I created, and just so you see, this is part of it here. But I've had to make changes to it, but I actually put it in so that I had data from my students in here. All right. Well, I had some snags, but eventually I got all that to work. The problem was when I built it, it didn't look like this when I did the build. Rather, it came up and it said, it just said that basically I didn't have the data when I looked in here. So when I right mouse clicked, I couldn't do a view data. There was no data in there, even though it said it had been added. So that was the end of that article. And I was so confused by the time I finished that I decided I'm going to do it the way that we've been doing it. So went and looked a little bit earlier in class today. And we have this MVC demo. I'm going to get rid of that. Okay. And I'm going to come in here and I've got a new instance of Visual Studio started. I'm going to right mouse click, choose new, project, ASP.NET project, and we're going to call this MVC Demo 2. All right, I removed the other one that I had, so I'm going to click OK. I want this to be an MVC project. I'm not going to worry about Azure now. We'll do that later. I'm going to click OK. And it should come over here and build everything that I need. Okay? It'll build everything. You'll see all the folders, and then it'll have to come back in and put a bunch of references in there. And when it gets done with that, the references thing will be closed. There we go. So we're ready to go. I can close this, and I'm ready to start. So I'm going to right mouse click on App Data. I'm going to choose Add SQL Server Database, and I'm just going to call this RTC, Rankin Technical College. Click OK. There's my RTC. There it is there. I'm going to right mouse click and choose refresh, and it should be fine. All right, now I'm going to add my tables. So right mouse click, add new table. Now, I didn't have any problems with this, so what I'm going to do is to try to expedite matters a little bit. I am going to come in and copy this stuff. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this whole thing in here. And this is going to create for me a new table called student with 4 fields in it. A student ID, which is our primary key, and it's an identity field. All right. And then we're going to have last name and first name, which are both nvarchars, size 50, and they both allow nulls. Then a date time enrollment date, which will also allow nulls. And again, our primary key is our student ID. So let me copy that. And again, I wouldn't normally be copying like this, but I'm doing it just to try to expedite matters a little bit. This is called our TSQL, or our Transact SQL window. When I paste the information there, you'll notice it gets filled in up here also. I'm going to tell it to update the database. Boom. No errors. That's good. Update database and close. We now have, when I right mouse click in here and choose refresh, we should now have our first database. And you'll see that if I open the table definition, it's everything we just put in. All right? So that's the first one. Then I'm going to again right mouse click on here again, choose add new table, go back to here, put in my second table, which is course, and as you can see with the course table, it has 3 fields. Our course ID, which is our primary key and identity field, title, which is an nvarchar 50, which allows nulls, credits, which is an integer, which allows nulls. All right, so we're again going to copy that. I'm going to again come down to my Transact SQL window, paste that in, and you'll see, boom, that's filled in. I'm going to tell it to update the database again. Again, no errors, update, and close. I'm going to again right mouse click on here and choose refresh. I now have 2 tables. For my course one, I can close that, but for my course one, if I come in here and open the table definition, there it is. Okay, so those 2 are done. Let's put in our last one, which is going to be our enrollment, a little more complex of a table. You'll notice that there's an enrollment ID, which cannot be null, a grade, and a grade which can be null, but this is our lookup table. So we've got course ID and student ID that are put in this table. They're both they're both foreign keys. So the course ID will link back to the course ID in the course table. The student ID will link back to the student ID in the student table. So again, I'm going to copy this, right mouse click, choose copy, come back to here, right mouse click on here, choose add new table. Again, go into my Transact SQL window. There it is. There's all my data. You see that it's created my foreign keys for me. This is all good news. All right. I'm again going to update the database. Looks fine as far as I can tell. Update database. I can close this. I can right mouse click on here, choose refresh, and you notice now I have all 3 of my tables. If I right mouse click on my enrollment that I just put in and open the table definition, again, you can see that it's all been set up accordingly. All right. So then, to try to expedite matters, I used all 16 of my students, and I went back in here, and here's where I had some problems. So I'm going to see if it works now. Okay. First of all, that has to be student, not students. All right. And this is my course. So, home, I want to insert into course, and I don't know why I did that, but I did. Don't need any of that stuff. This is what I wanted. All right. And we're going to go over all of these in just a moment. This, and I'm going to get rid of all right. So let's take a look at each one of these. I want to insert into my course table. I've got 3 different records that I want to put in here. AWD1000, which is 14, AWD1100, which is 14 credits, AWD1111, which is 14 credits. I am not putting in the course ID, and the reason I'm not putting in the course ID is because that is an identity field, so I shouldn't have to. So I want to see if this works, if I insert this into course. All right, so I'm going to try that first. In fact, since I'm not putting in the primary key, I have to put in here, in parentheses, title and credits. I have to put in the 2 field names. Now this should be totally valid. We're going to find out right now. Cross our fingers. I'm going to come back into here, right mouse click on course, choose new query, paste that in. Paste that in. Come on. Copy. Paste. Why isn't that pasting? I don't know. It did work the first time, so Let me just get rid of all of that and try to paste it again. So insert into course, title, credits, values. That looks correct to me. So I'm going to run it. 3 rows affected. Good start. All right, I'm going to close this, and I will not save it if I'm asked, because that's an insert, and I don't want to keep inserting the same records in. So no, I don't want to save it. So now let's right mouse click on our table, choose refresh, right mouse click again, and choose show table data. And sure enough, we've got our 3 courses in there. Great start. All right, I'm going to close that. I'm going to right mouse click on student. We'll do it in that order. New query. Okay, in fact, before we do this, let's double check and let's look at the names of our fields. So we have the ID, which we're not going to put in. We have last name, first name, and enrollment date. Okay, so I'm going to right mouse click on student, choose new query, go back to here, last name, first name, enrollment date, insert into student, values. Okay, this doesn't matter, you know, this is just a tab. I can move all those over. It really and truly does not matter. These are the 16 students that I have in my classes. So, I'm not going to even worry about prettying this up, except this column I'm going to straighten up a little bit. All right, now we're going to see if this one works. So I'm going to grab this, copy it to the clipboard, go into here, paste that in, ideally at least when I press this. 16 rows affected. Great. Right mouse click. In fact, here I don't want to save again, so no. Right mouse click on student. Refresh. Right mouse click. Show table data. There are my 16 records. The enrollment date is hacked off a little bit, so they're all in there. That's good. And finally, those are my student records, so I've got to put in my enrollment records. So I can close this. Let's go to enrollment. Let's first quickly look at our table definition. We will need a grade, a course ID, and a student ID. All right. So this now is legit. This now is legit. And we'll have to insert into enrollment. All right. And I'm sorry, I forgot what they were again. They are grade, course ID, and student ID. Okay? So, grade, course ID, student ID. Oops. ID. All right. And then values. And nothing here. So insert into enrollment, grade, course ID, and student ID, values, etc. Hopefully I didn't make any errors in there. Copy that to the clipboard. Right mouse click on enrollment. Choose new query. Paste that in. And click that. 16 rows affected. Again, fantastic. I don't want to save. So save the following changes. No. Right mouse click and again refresh, right mouse click, and show our table data. And you see that right now we do have all of our table data in here. So to recap, what I've done is I took what they had here, kind of morphed it into what I wanted to do. All right, but I did put in the information, albeit rank and student information, as opposed to the stuff that they have. All right, so that pretty much is it. We have now gone in, and in this particular one, we came in here, we created the database, and we populated it with data. So that's Article 1 here. which is getting started with Entity Framework 6 database using MVC 5. All right? Doesn't look very different from what we've done before. In the next article here, EF database first with MVC, creating the web application and data models. We're going to do that. And as it says, this part of the series focuses on creating the web application. We've already done that. We're going to try to generate the data models based on our tables. So in many ways, this is going to look similar to what we've already done. All right? But we're knocking it up, taking it up a notch here. We're going to end up putting in some of our own code. So we'll go through this in just a couple minutes. Again, may not sound like a big thing to you, but I'm happy as heck because I now have all of this working. So I have all three of so this is my, it's called post deploy, but I'm going to do a file, save as. I'm going to save it to the desktop. And I'm going to just call it MVC Demo2 inserts.sql. And I'm going to make that available, of course, as I always do to the class. So I'll be back with step 2 in just a couple minutes.